everyone, this is Danny Chats. We're on episode number 7 now, and today I'm joined by Jamie. You all right, Jamie? How's it going?
Hey, Danny. Good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me on. Really appreciate it. And, I've been following a lot of what you've been doing on Instagram and social media and stuff, everything you've been doing for liver transplant awareness. So it's an honor to be invited on.
Thanks for coming on. It's nice to have someone from the UK. I mean, I've had Scotland, but not actually England. And I know a little bit about your story. I know we went to the same hospital, so it'd be interesting to find out a little bit more.
We did, yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want to tell me how this all started for you then, the whole liver transplant process?
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll go way back to early days when I was young, just to give you a little history. So I growing up as a kid, I was diagnosed with dyslexia from a young age, and went to my schooling. Was a special dyslexia school in Surrey, and so I always struggled with learning. I always struggled with sort of dyslexia, and didn't get any qualifications, and the whole school process was not that fun for me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until sort of many years later that I was, it wasn't until I was probably about 20 that I started to become very tired, just sort of lack of energy for anything. Found it very difficult to get up in the morning, found it very difficult to, hold down a job. So I went to the doctors, and they ran a few tests. Sort of at first they kind of thought I was just, being crazy, just I was being lazy. But then, after they did a few tests, they realized that there was potentially an issue. So they did some tests, and I came back with having a portal vein thrombosis, which is basically like a clot in the liver. So I had tests, loads of scans, in and out of hospital for years. Long story short, I was misdiagnosed.
I was going to say, because everyone I've interviewed so far has been through Wilson's disease, but we connected because of your liver transplant, and you didn't have Wilson's disease, so you thought you had this diagnosis, and then I suppose that changed.
Yeah, so I had that, and then I was put on warfarin to sort of thin my blood, just to help with the blood flow around my liver. So like I said, I was just having endless tests in and out.
That was tablets, wasn't it? Not injections.
Yeah. So, every day I would take those, and, the worst part about it is that it didn't actually make me feel any better. You would have thought that, actually, if I had this, maybe it would help with some of the symptoms, but I was still getting tired and, didn't have any energy or anything. So I had lots of different tests. I was kind of thrown around to like different doctors and stuff. And it actually ended up seeing one doctor who looked at all my scans and results, and, realized that things kind of didn't really add up. So he referred me to King's, and it was there that I was diagnosed with a really rare condition called Abernathy Syndrome, which basically meant that the blood around my liver wasn't getting around my body the way it should be. It was kind of like bypassing my liver.
Yeah.
And that in turn caused cancer tumours, and my liver was actually shrinking as well. And then with that, I had to have chemo and TACE, which is basically like a type of chemotherapy that's targeted into the body. And then that kind of worked a little bit and bided me a bit of time. And initially I was going to have like a kind of stent operation. When we first spoke to the doctor about it, he was going to do like this stent because he didn't want to do the transplant at first.
Can I just go back? So you said you was being seen for the what they thought was a blockage, and then you had a different doctor come along. Was that because you went to see someone else, or did you want a second opinion, or was that literally because?
So the first diagnosis with the portal vein thrombosis was with a doctor who I was under for a few years. I was in that Kingston hospital with him, but he actually died, which we never found out about. But supposedly he died, which is obviously terrible. So that ended up me being referred to another doctor who was just very, very like spot on. He was a German doctor who was just very like, if he didn't see something that add up, he'd go over it and over it again. So he was the one that, you know, saw things, you know, certain things didn't make sense with my results and stuff. And he referred me to King's, where I saw a specialist there, Professor Michael Heaton, who did my operation. He's amazing. And that's where they found like the Abernathy, this really rare condition, which I think there's only like a few cases in the whole world, you know, and I'm one of them. So super special.
I bet at King's, at King's, they must have sort of loved you, because I know even having Wilson's disease, it's probably not as rare as what you have, but because it's a medical student college sort of place, you know, they bring everyone in to look at you, examine you.
Yeah, well, I remember being in hospital. They had quite a few like medical students wanting to interview me and stuff and find out a bit more about what it was. So there was that, and then so I was. They eventually realised that they couldn't do the stent because they'd realised that my tumours in my liver, the cancer tumours, had grown too much. So they basically said that, you know, your transplant is the only option, which was obviously really, really scary when we found out. I was
going to say, this must have been a really sort of harrowing time for you, really.
Yeah. Well, you know, we felt like, I never felt that I was like ill. I just felt like really, really tired. So I just felt like I was kind of lacking in iron or something, or just, you know, had some sort of deficiency. I never ever thought it would be as bad as it turned out to be.
I bet when you heard the cancer, the C word.
Yeah, I mean, you as soon as you hear that, you just think, well, that's it, you know.
Yeah.
It's over, kind of thing. You know, your mind goes to the worst case scenario. You start planning your funeral in your head and all that kind of stuff. So you know, but luckily I was, you know, November 2018, I was saved. You know, I was somewhere else having some tests done, and we got a call in the afternoon, and my dad took the call. You know, he was obviously very emotional when it was the call, that, you know, and put me in a taxi and went to the hospital, and, you know, so many different things going through my mind, you know, obviously completely freaked out by the whole thing. But the guys at King's Hospital, like, they're so good. They're so, even though like what you're going through is massive, like, they're so good at just supporting you, reassuring you, you know, telling you that once you get through it, you're going to feel so much better and all this kind of stuff. There was one previous call before I had the call.
I think I had 4 calls. Well, 3 calls, and then the 4th time was the final call.
So I mean, that first call, I was called, got an ambulance, called up at 3 a.m, went to the hospital, and there was a bit of a wait, and then we found out that actually there was a very ill baby that was, you know, not in a good way, and really needed a new liver. So obviously it was kind of between me and the baby at one point. So I was obviously like, you know, you got to give it to the I mean, I'm in a bad way, but I'm not sort of, you know, knocking on death's door just yet. So that
it would be interesting to know with an adult liver whether they could, with some people, maybe take a small bit off of the child and then give the rest to someone else, because as you probably know, the liver regrows, doesn't it? So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know if that's been done before or not.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I wonder.
So eventually had the transplant. I was in hospital for 9 days.
Yeah, that's good.
It was, lots of drugs, lots of weariness, you know. I'm sure you experienced the same.
I think some of the worst parts for me were having the drainage tubes in. They were so uncomfortable. And then the having to go to the toilet.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're pumped full of morphine, which binds you up. You can't push because your stomach's been cut open. Yeah. But you can't leave the hospital till you've been, and you're going properly. So that was like always a big challenge.
Yeah, definitely. And waking up for the first time, not being able to speak. So I remember my family was standing around me at the time. I woke up and I could see that they were all there, and I just was like, you know, like gagging to speak. But I thing in my mouth. Yeah.
I think for me, the first thing I wanted food. I sent someone out and they got me an ice lolly.
Really, that's interesting because I didn't really have any appetite at all. I ended up having these sort of shakes. Protein shakes.
A lot of people have said either through the steroids or they have the steroids to increase their appetite and things like that. But I mean, for me, I've never struggled with my appetite, and it was literally, like I said, it's the first thing I thought of when I woke up, and then I just ate everything after that I could.
Yeah. That's cool.
So you were in for 9 days, and then you obviously got released to go back home. How did you find it being back at home?
So yeah, I mean, being back at home was took a while to adjust. I remember when the first day I came out of hospital, and it just felt, everything was just like, wow, like look at the trees and stuff again, and like just being able to go for a little walk and stuff. Like, it was really surreal. It was like, you know, not that I've ever been in prison, but like the closest I can imagine to like being released from prison or something.
How did you find your mobility and stuff was? I mean, for me, the first thing I did was have a bath, and I could get in and out of the bath okay, but in terms of any kind of sitting up at home or standing up too long, it hurt. I had a friend pop round, and I sent him home after about 5 minutes because he kept making me laugh, and it was just so painful.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I remember like finding obviously the stomach area really, really painful and finding it difficult. I was kind of hunched over for quite a while. Like, I couldn't. It was very difficult to stand up straight. You're about feeling like almost like you were like ripping that area of your core. You know, it was so tight.
Do you have staples or?
No, I just had some like kind of plaster thing on me, and it was actually like stitched up really well. But yeah, it was just plastery stuff, and then maybe not staples, but like some little plasticky things like holding it together. But yeah, very, very tight in that area to begin with.
Yeah. And then obviously, I know now that you're doing things like yoga, and you run a yoga course and a few other things like that. So obviously now you're a lot more mobile, a lot more flexible.
Yeah. So I'm pretty much back to full fitness now. I mean, obviously I'm back and forth having blood tests just to check everything is okay.
Do you go once a year at the moment? Because you're 3 years post now, aren't you? Is it 3 years?
Not quite 3 years, just under 2, I think. Yeah. So I have blood tests sort of every 3 or 4 months, and then you get a call, you know, obviously, like, you know, just to go through it all with you. But it's been all right. The only thing that's been a bit of an issue is my kidney function, because of the, you know, the medication, obviously, as you know, can affect your kidneys a bit.
What medication are you actually on?
Just the immunosuppressants, so the tacrolimus.
Yeah, and I think when you come out of hospital, you were on steroids.
I was on like 20 milligrams of steroids. I was on prednisolone. I was on, you know, the stuff that you took for like your stomach. I can't remember what it's called now, just to help with gas reflux.
Omeprazole, probably.
Yeah.
Did you find that the steroids messed you up in any way?
I found the steroids really affected my mood. I was very, very like on edge.
Yeah.
Angry, like shouting at my family, my wife and stuff. And no, it wasn't great being on the steroids.
Yeah. I didn't have any mood swings or anything like that, but I had like a sleep paralysis and really struggled sleeping. And I've never had sleep paralysis. It's like one of the nights, it was like a demon that came in and sat on my chest. Like, it was so visual. I've never had anything like it. But that soon stopped, and I did so many things that I could to try and stop it. Like, I went to a lavender fields near my house and just filled my bedroom up with lavender and tried to get a sleep routine. So yeah, I think that was the only thing I had from the steroids.
I think actually being in hospital, that's where I had like all these sort of hallucinations and stuff, and all sorts of voices going on in my head. But yeah, soon wore off though.
Yeah, I bet. And I, as I mentioned, that you do yoga, so we'll put a link up to that, because you run classes and stuff, and from what I've seen, they're really good.
Yeah, definitely. It's something which is nice to get back into, and just getting back into doing because I really found work hard before the operation. Like I couldn't really function, and energy levels were so low. The things that I wanted to do, I couldn't really make happen. So it's just nice to be able to do something that you've got the energy to do now, and you can help others as well with it. So it's nice.
Yeah, it's good. And so going forward, have you got sort of many plans? Obviously, at the moment, there's not a lot we can do because we're in lockdown.
Yeah, no. So we were going to go to Greece in August, but I think that's probably going to be off now.
Yeah.
So
you've been on a couple of holidays since the operation, though, have you? Or you've been?
Yeah, we went to Greece last year for our honeymoon because my wife and I, we weren't able to go on a honeymoon when I was on the waiting list, just because you're not allowed to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we managed to get married, which was amazing.
You got married while you was on the waiting list?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was, that was quite hard because we were in two minds as to whether we should get married or not because of whether or not I'd get the call. But we went ahead with it, and it worked out amazingly.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's really good.
Yeah.
Because for me, being on the waiting list, I didn't have anything to do or anything like that. So it just felt like my life was fully on hold, and I had no control over it or anything. You literally just sort of sat in the air waiting for someone else to save you, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, it's a tough time, and I think what you can do is just do whatever you can to distract yourself, and
Did you try and keep as fit, obviously, as possible as well?
Yeah, so I just tried to eat healthy, do as much exercise as possible, and
see, now you eat really healthy as well, which is good. Way healthier than I do.
I try to, yeah. So no, it's definitely important to keep busy, do exercise if you can do exercise.
Yeah.
And all those things, just to get your mind away from the future and what might happen.
Do you know anything about your donor? Did they tell you much? Because they told me, obviously, that I had a young lad. I think he was 21 or 22. So I know he was male and the age. That's all I know so far.
I don't know anything really. I don't. I may have been told something, but I can't quite remember. I'm still due to send my letter. I've written my letter. I need to make sure I get that out. That's going to be the next step. But
that must be an emotional, because I've thought about writing my letter, and I planned. It's coming up now. I'm going to start as well because I wanted to do mine a year after the op.
Yeah.
And just sitting there thinking about it, sometimes I'm like, it's not daunting, but it just brings up all the emotions.
It's hard to know what to write and what words are the right words to put down.
Yeah.
It's you never think you're going to have to write anything like that in your life, do you? Write to someone else's family about their child or daughter's death that saved your life.
Yeah, that's good.
So and I'm going to get that out there. It's big and important to me.
Yeah, I'm sure. So what else? Is there anything that you'd like to especially add, or?
Just a thank you to my doctor, Professor Heaton. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today. He did amazing, and has gave us sort of so much hope and reassurance when we were really, really worried.
Like you said, the whole team at King's are amazing.
Yeah, and all the nurses and everyone there, they were so good. I had quite a few nights where I was just really scared and really upset about what was going to happen, how I was going to, how long it would take, how long I'd be in hospital for, all these things were going through my mind. And the nurses were just, they'd give you a hug when you needed it, and they'd sit down and have a chat with you if you needed it. So
was that the first time that you'd really had sort of hospital time? Because for me, I was in hospital a lot when I was 14. Pretty much from 14 to 16, I was in there a lot, and then I've always been going back. So to me, hospital is like a second home. But I suppose to you, if you've not been there or not.
I mean, I've obviously been in and out for scans and stuff, but the only other time I was in kind of overnight was when I was having my chemotherapy and stuff. So yeah, I mean, that was, and I was in hospital a couple of times because actually, when I had the Abernathy Syndrome, I was, what's the word? I had encephalopathy, or whatever you call it, where basically because the blood flow affects your brain. So I was in quite a bad way just before the operation, like, I was getting these brain problems, and I was off balance one day and just nearly collapsed. So I ended up in Brighton Hospital for a couple of nights. So yeah, that was quite hard. And then when I had the actual chemo, yeah,
I bet the chemo was daunting.
Yeah, not a nice experience, for anyone to go through, because it was chemo and radiotherapy in the end. Yeah, tough one, but got through it.
yeah. You obviously, everyone that's been through this is such strong characters. Everyone I've spoke to, you kind of have to be, don't you? Really?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes you stronger, and you have some dark days where when you're going through all these things, but you go through that, you have a cry, you have a bit of a panic, and then you grow and you get stronger for that. I think. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I'll just add a couple of things. So just big thank you, obviously, to my donor who saved my life, and it's an amazing thing, and just need to get that letter out to them and say my thanks. But yeah, and also to anyone who's on the list, just making sure that they try not to panic too much, and really important to look after the mind, do things to help them feel better, get out there, get exercise if you can, and once you get the operation, you get that liver, which you will, you're going to feel amazing afterwards. So
yeah, that's it. I can't even put into words how different or how amazing I feel compared to before.
It's like just being given a new zest of life. It's like you're a new person.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and you appreciate things, I think, a lot more. Like
definitely.
The little things in life, like just going for a walk, or going, like, especially now when we've been in lockdown for so many weeks. Like, it's nice. Life is nice.
Yeah, every day is a blessing. Every day is special.
Definitely.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for coming on, Jamie.
Yeah, thanks, Danny.
And like I say, I'll put a link up to your yoga page and everything, because it's totally worth looking at. Like I said, I've seen plenty of stuff, but I've only just moved into a new place, so now I've got some room. I'll join up.
Yeah, no worries. No, you're welcome. Check it out when you can.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. See you later, mate.
Thanks, Danny. Take care.